everyone. My name is Emmy Swinford, and today I want to walk you through my journey of worship ministry. And so to start off, I really want you to get a feel about who I am, because I think that is so important, because this career I want to go into is something where you need to be very relational, and people need to really understand you and know you, and I think that's so important. And so to start off, I want to share my purpose statement. And my purpose statement is to honor God in everything I do, to follow where He leads me, and to be a good representation of Christ. And originally, this is not something I was going to put into my presentation, but after some consideration, I realized that this is really something that is so important to me, and I think it shows a little bit more of who I am. And originally, last semester, they asked us to do this for a homework assignment. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. But then as I started to piece it together, I was like, this is really important to me. Like, this is something I want to truly live by. And so I think this shows a little bit about who I truly am. So why worship ministry? Well, a couple years ago, I was at church camp, and I was on the worship team there. And I really was just doing it then because it was fun, and I love to sing, and it was how I praise the Lord. But as the week went on, I saw everyone praying to the Lord and asking for different things, and they were receiving it. I was like, wow, I want something from the Lord, but I didn't know what I wanted. And so I was just praying. I was like, Jesus, I don't know what you have in store for me, but just reveal something to me this week. And as the week went on, I really didn't get anything. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of sad. But then camp ended, and the weeks continued to grow on, and there wasn't one moment where the Lord was like, worship ministry is what you will do. It was more of like a gradual sense of knowing, and just in my spirit, I just started to feel that this was the calling He had placed in my life. And because of that, I started to get such a love and such a passion for worship ministry. And because of that, I've picked up guitar. I've done that for about 6 years, and piano, I've played that for about 3 years, and then I've been singing as long as I remember, and I'm quite proficient in each of them. And because of the calling the Lord has placed on my life, I've just grown such a passion and love, and honestly, I could stand up here and talk about it for so long. But what I've learned from this is that if you seek the Lord, He will answer. It just might not be in the way you expect it. And so because of the calling the Lord has placed in my life, I want to talk about what I've done and the experiences I have been able to be a part of. And so the first one I want to touch on is the youth worship team. And this is something that has been so special because this is kind of what started it all. I joined the worship team in the 6th grade. And again, I just did it because it was fun. I wasn't very good at the time, but I had some friends who were on it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And as I continued to grow, I started off being the youngest one on the team and really looking up to everyone else. And now I'm still on this worship team, and I'm the oldest one. And I can see these people looking up to me and these girls looking up to me. And I just think it has been so impactful for me to be able to grow and be poured into and mentored by the people there. It has been something that's been so, so special. And then from a different angle, the main worship team, my sanctuary, I've been on that for about 3 years now. And this has been like such a contrast to that first one because I am the youngest one up there currently. But to be able to be up there alongside everyone who's much older than me and much wiser than me and worship alongside of them and see how they do it and have them pour into my life and disciple me, that has been something that's really special. And to see how my worship leader leads and to gain things from that, to learn from that. And then camp. Again, camp is kind of where I got the calling on my life. But I have been able to be a part of worship 4 years now. This year will be 4 years. And this has been so different because camp, you go in and you might have a little bit of time to practice, but it's really spirit-led because it's not as much structure. And I've been able to gain so many new experiences from this because some nights my worship leader will be like, okay, I want you guys to do it. And she'll just kind of like throw us in and she'll be like, you guys get to pick the songs and you get to lead. And I've kind of learned how to do that from that moment. And now, restaurants. This is my favorite one to talk about, and this is something I started doing last summer. I got the opportunity to go to a restaurant in Mooresville called the Parlor PS, and they asked me to come in and do a 2-hour worship set while people eat. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't do that. And my first inclination was to say no. But then I realized right before this, I prayed, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then please push me and challenge me. And then like a couple weeks later, I got this opportunity. And I jumped into it, and I learned how to make a 2-hour set list and go up there and do it all by myself and figure out what equipment I needed and how to set it up and take it down and be able to go there and just do it by myself. And that has grown me so much in my confidence and in my skills to be able to get up there and do that all by myself. And then now guest worship leading. I would say I wouldn't be able to do guest worship leading if it wasn't for the restaurants gigs I had. And I've done that about 4 times now. But guest worship leading, I recently got that opportunity through Vertical Immersive. And Mr. Wheeler set me up with this pastor in Jamestown. And I got this text one day, 3 days before I got the opportunity. And he said, hey, I need a guest worship leader to come in and lead worship. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can do that. And because he said the congregation was all older, and I was going to come in and be the youngest one there by far and have to lead them in worship. And I was like, okay, Lord, if you really want me to do this, I will. And so I've been there twice now, and it has been such a special opportunity because that is the first time I have gone in as a worship leader and led worship by myself and learned how to do all those little things. And so that has been something that has been so great. And then the vertical worship team. This is something I also got the opportunity to do last semester by Mr. Wheeler. And this is so different than anything I ever expected I would have to do because he knew I wanted to go into worship ministry, so he was like, okay, start your own worship team. And I was like, what? But I was able to go through like assessments and building a team and finding that structure and how we all work together and what songs we can do together with limited supplies and things like that. And because of that, we had our first vertical morning worship session, and I was able to lead that. And I was like, wow, this is so crazy. All of these doors the Lord is opening for me. And then lastly is the Belize and El Salvador worship. And this is something that is also really special because just in this past year, in January, I went to Belize, and then in April, I went to El Salvador. And specifically Belize, I went in not really expecting to have to use my worship skills or anything like that. I was like, Lord, I just want you to push me and grow me. And so that Sunday night, they had a sermon and a church service at a church there. And about 30 minutes before the service started, Mr. Wheeler came up to me and he was like, they asked us if we would lead worship for them tonight. And he's like, well, you want to be a worship leader? And I was like, oh, okay. And so I had basically no preparation time, but I think that was intentional by the Lord, just wanting to put me in something uncomfortable because I'm such a perfectionist. So being able to go into something not prepared, I just picked a couple songs out that I felt like I should do that night. Not being able to practice, not warming up. I didn't even know what instrument I was going to have when I got there. And I got there and there's a piano and I was like, okay, I guess I'm playing piano. And so that has been so special because to be able to go on the other side of the world and lead worship with people who, most of them didn't even speak our language. And some of the songs were in Spanish when they led worship. And I just thought that was so cool. And honestly, it reminded me of when we get to heaven and being able to worship with people all across the world. And that has been something that's been so special to me. And so what I've learned from each of these stories is that if you do the hard things the Lord is calling you to do, He will bless you abundantly. And I've seen that so much in my life through these experiences. And now I've talked about what I have done. And now I want to talk about what I will do. And so my first step, I really prayed about this because I didn't know what my next steps should be. And so the first one really isn't something tangible, and so I wasn't sure if this is something I should put up here. But after some prayer and consideration, I decided this is the most important thing I should put up here, and it is to continue discerning God's plan. And I put this up here because I know the calling the Lord has in my life, and I know what He wants me to do, for a fact. But if that were to change, if He were to change it completely, or if He were to change it just a little bit and different aspects of it, I really, really want to be in tune with that and aware of that. And so that is my first step, is to continue to always be in prayer for that. And then my second one is to gain more experience. I've already had quite a bit of experience, which is such a blessing, but I still have so much more room to grow, and I want to get all different kinds of experiences. So that is my next step, is to continue to pursue that. And then my third one is to obtain an apprenticeship. And this is something I'm really hoping for in the fall. I really have been looking into different churches, seeing what they would have to offer and things like that. And so that is something I am working towards. And that all leads to my long-term career plan. So in the next 5 years, I hope to be serving in a full-time worship ministry position where I can lead others in worship and help build a strong Christ-centered community. I want to continue growing in my leadership, musical abilities, and spiritual maturity while using my gifts to positively impact the church and lead people closer to God. I do want to make it very clear that although this is my long-term plan for the career I want to go into and the job I want to go into, because it is a job, but this is not only a career, it's not only my long-term plan for a career, but it's really the type of person I want to be. And so part of going towards my long-term career plan is changing myself in different aspects of myself. And so my 5-year plan is not only gain experience, but to grow into the type of person the Lord is calling me to be. So I thank you all for coming and allowing me to share this with you. It's been such a blessing. Who has the first question?
Yes.
So I heard that some other people think about this contributions and colors test. Did you have some results in that surprised you?
I would say yes, because I think my top one was a relator. And I am slightly more introverted, and so I was like, oh, I like to talk to people? I didn't know that. But I have seen that grow so much through this past year, and so I would say that is what has surprised me. Anyone else? Yes.
So we don't have classes here, but specifically about becoming a worship leader. What kinds of things did you take away from your classes so far that are going to help you?
I would say the class that has helped me the most in this particular aspect would be leadership development class, because we have gone through so many different attributes, like being intentional or serviceful or achievement and transformation and all of those different things. And I never really thought about any of those. I knew what each of them were, but I didn't really think about how they applied to my life. And so being able to see all those different values that they have and how most of them do go into the track I want to go on. And so being very intentional about applying all of those has helped me so much. Anyone else?
I have 2 questions. One, did I miss what you mean the word coercive? Or you guys touched on that a little bit, but with the mentors and with everyone else.
Mm-hmm. I did not touch on that necessarily. I would say specifically I have been in contact with Mr. Wheeler about an internship and looking for an apprenticeship, but I think that would be my main focus right now is hopefully coming alongside Vertical and finding an internship for the fall.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And then my other question is more about the soft skills and the character. You touched about this a little bit at the very end. What does that specifically look like in the next 5 years?
Yes. So some of the soft skills that I really hope to grow, and I'm currently growing, the first one would be discernment. I do struggle discerning things sometimes, and I think that's something that is so important for a worship leader. And so I'm currently trying to grow those skills. And then the second one would be knowing how to cultivate a community. Because in my mentorship I had with my worship leader, that was something that she made so clear, was that was really important to know how to cultivate and foster that community.
How are you actually growing the skill sets?
How am I doing? That's a good question. I would say a lot of it is I've been doing, specifically right now, I'm doing different devotionals about each of those and really asking people who have those skills, like specifically my worship leader, how I can grow those. And she said a lot of it is mostly prayer. And so it might not be something that's very tangible for me at the moment, but she said prayer, reading your Bible, devotionals, which of course is kind of the Sunday school answer. But she said that was what would help the most.
And sorry to all the questions, but what about the discernment? What if someone who actually has discernment? What if someone who actually has discernment? Someone who has discernment.
I would say knowing when the Spirit is leading you, or knowing when your own self is leading you. I think that's the biggest thing that I would say, is knowing what's from me and what's not from me. I think I can take one more question. Who has the last one? Yes, Tom.
You've been sitting in my class, business communications, for the last semester, not speaking unless spoken to, in large groups. And you just got up here and commanded this audience. As though, yeah, natural presenter, I'm super confident, look at me go. Like, where has this girl been? What a change. What a change. Bring that game next year. You need to be one of those role models that the new climbers will have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Take your time with this response. When you're singing on the stage, what happened spiritually? For those of us who don't experience that, take us up on the stage with you for a minute and share that experience of what happens.
I think when I first started worship ministry, I would say I was so focused on skill-wise, like if I'm singing the right notes, or what I'm even singing, am I singing the right chorus? And I think that is something that I focus so much on. But as I've grown in my skills, I've been able to really hone in and like focus on truly worshiping. And so as I've been able to do that, really it is just not just singing the songs, but knowing what the songs mean and being able to truly feel the words and like sing it to the Lord. And although I may be on a stage worshiping, I am not worshiping for everyone who is watching. I'm very intentional about only worshiping the Lord, and He's my focus. Well, thank you all for coming today. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here. I hope you all have a great day.